Welcome to Sense of Style, I'm Stuart, and bear in mind that when I use the term intimidation, I am not saying that if you wear one of these fragrances, people are going to be afraid that you're going to beat them up. No, I am talking about psychological, emotional intimidation. Something where if you wear a fragrance like this, people are going to be a little bit nervous because they're very different. They're very bold and strong, and if you own it, they're going to think twice about messing with you. There's definitely going to be some respect there. Let's get to it. Fragrance number 1 is YSL's M7 Oud Absolu. And even though this is a toned down version of the original M7 was a 24-hour bomb. It was very medicinal. It came out in 2002, and nobody had any idea what oud is back then. And so, yeah, it just didn't sell. This is a toned down version, and if you're going to tone down an original, what you want is the original perfumer, or at least one of them. And in this case, Jacques Cavalier of Imagination fame, he worked on the original, and he reformulated this to make it more pleasant, more wearable. But it still has a balm feel to it. It's very, very strong projection. It's got 8 to 10 hours longevity, and yeah, it's still got a medicinal feel. This is not a clean oud. It's going to be something that people are not familiar with. And yeah, they'll pay attention. Cavalier used M7's original oud accord in this. It's the notes surrounding it that have changed and toned it down a little bit. You're going to get labdanum, myrrh, mandarin, and patchouli. So it's a slightly different construction, but it's formulated in exactly the same way. Just if you wear this, don't do what I did when somebody came into the gym locker room and said it smelled like a French brothel in here just after I applied it. I did the worst possible thing. I went over to him. I apologized profusely. That's not how you wear a bold oud fragrance. Please don't do that. I'm still learning. But yeah, it is a bomb. Speaking of medicinal, this is Gucci Guilty Absolute, and this was commissioned by Alessandro Michel, someone who obviously doesn't care what other people think of him. And he told Alberto Marias, the perfumer here, that he wanted something. And bear in mind, this is right in the middle of the blue fragrance era where everyone was wearing fresh fragrances. He wanted this to smell like old books and a warm leather chair. Fortunately for us, he gave Alberto Marias full control of the fragrance, and so yeah, it doesn't smell like that. Maria said it smelled like varnished violin wood, and there is definitely a varnished feel here. Some people love it, like myself. I would say 50% of people in the fragrance community really like it, and the other people think it smells like industrial cleaner. The great thing about this fragrance, though, is the fact that it's definitely masculine. There's a lot of woods, a lot of leather, and then you get a Nootka cypress note in the mid. And that is a very, very like ultra fresh woody note. The Nootka cypress comes from northern British Columbia in Canada, and it's got the sharpest cypress feel. They created an aroma chemical called golden wood, and that's what gives it the varnishy smell. So yeah, masculine, bold, strong, niche-like. A couple of niche houses have actually copied this, but yeah, not for everybody. Fragrance number 3 is Dior Fahrenheit, and if there was ever a fragrance that just couldn't win, it was Fahrenheit, because as much as it's hated today for its hyper-masculine gasoline smell, notice another industrial theme, like a medicinal, industrial-smelling fragrance. Yes, this is the third in a row. Despite the fact that people can't stand it for this reason, back in 1988 when it came out, it was in the middle of the power scent era where very, very strong, woody scents, hyper-masculine fragrances were. And this has six floral notes. And so this was seen as too feminine by a lot of people. So too feminine in the late 80s, too masculine now. Boy, have times changed. I think, though, and a lot of people agree with me, that this thing is fantastic. It's one of the few fragrances I would refer to as a masterpiece. Back in the 1980s, most fragrances were given like 18 to 25 notes. This fragrance has a whole bunch of notes as well, but there are really 3 that do the damage. There is a heavy amount of violet leaf here. There's a lot of leather and nutmeg as well. That's what gives it its gasoline smell. It's another fragrance. It's a love it or hate it. And if people hate it, they'll definitely give you a second look because it's not conventional in the slightest. And that's what we're going for. Fragrances number 4 and 5, I think, are the boldest style that you can get for intimidating, especially other men. They are very, very strong and potent rose fragrances. Fragrance number 4 is Club de Nuit Intense Woman. Now, bear in mind, it's called Woman, but this is a clone of Noir de Noir by Tom Ford. And if there was ever anybody who is like ultra provocative, it's Tom Ford. And Noir de Noir is a unisex scent. And really, if you're familiar with Oud at all, this also should be considered a unisex scent because that's really all it is. It's a sweet oud, but it's rose heavy. So you're gonna get oud, rose, saffron, a lot more rose than saffron. There's 2 sweet notes here, including a little bit of vanilla. It's a dark fragrance. And honest to God, of all the fragrances I've ever worn, this is the most confusing because when I first got it, I would have rated it a 6. And it took 2 years of maceration for it to really improve. I have compared this head to head with Noir de Noir, and I cannot tell them apart. This thing turned, and it took a long time to macerate correctly. It turned into something monstrously strong. And yeah, this thing is challenging in the extreme, but if you like oud, if you like bold fragrances, or even if you like rose fragrances, and a lot of guys wear rose, this thing is definitely worth considering given the price. Just one word of advice, be patient, because the maceration for me took a long time, but when it did, it went literally from a 6 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. Fragrance number 4 is a tough act to follow, but if any fragrance can do so, it is Moschino's Toy Boy. This is another ultra strong, very powerful rose fragrance. It's really in your face. This, however, is not an oud fragrance, and so you don't get the sweetness that you get. It's kind of pleasant. It's also kind of modern that you get with Club de Nuit Intense Woman. No, this is not a clean rose, and there's a lot of spices here to go along with it. So yeah, you get the original rose. You also get nutmeg. You get cloves, and it's really, really in your face. The projection here is off the chart. So it's a very strong fragrance that other people will notice. I do notice one thing though, the longer it goes on, the more that potency dies down and it turns into a really pleasant rose fragrance. But yeah, I mean, most people, the first hour or so is enough to put them off. Even though this one is a lot more masculine than Club de Nuit Intense Woman, I still have to be in the right mood when I wear it because it is very much in your face, especially early on. It's the projection here too. It's strong. When I talked about Dior Fahrenheit earlier, I mentioned the power scent era. Now, the peak of the power scent era was between 1978 and 1982. Pour Le Weed by Oscar de la Renta came out right in the middle of that in 1980, and this is the ultimate power scent. Very, very hyper masculine, and fortunately for us, still very strong because so many older fragrances were watered down into oblivion. And even though the oak moss, that's really important here, has definitely been changed, the fragrance is still really strong. There's a lot of oak moss, there's a lot of leather. You're also going to get 4 woods. There's a bit of carnation. In fact, it's so strong. The only thing that really saves this to make it wearable is the aldehydes that give it a slight amount of freshness. But yeah, this is a hyper masculine power scent, something along the lines of Antaeus by Chanel, reasonably priced. And if you do like that kind of masculine scent, a lot of people these days don't. That's what makes this a bold wear. If you like that kind of hyper masculine scent, this is still definitely worth a purchase. Fragrance number 7 is about boldness by performance. It's an absolute bomb. This is Chergui by Serge Lutens. And I think Serge Lutens, even though they're a moderately priced niche house, they make some of the strongest fragrances out there. This one is not only strong in terms of projection, in terms of longevity, but even in terms of the juice. It's dark and it could possibly stain your clothes. So be careful with this one. But yeah, if you put this on, even 2 or 3 sprays, people are going to smell you for a really long time. The great thing about this is, yeah, it's strong, but it's also quite pleasant. Doesn't entirely fit into this list, but the strength certainly makes it worthy of consideration. you're going to get a lot of tobacco. It's a tobacco scent. There's some incense, so it's quite a dark fragrance, but there's a lot of sweetness in here too. You're going to get honey. You're going to get hay. You're going to get amber. There's even a little bit of iris, giving it a powdery feel, and super strong fragrance. This is one where, honest to God, I do have to hold back on the sprays. I've had fragrances for so long now that, you know, I would put 8 or 10 sprays on a regular basis. This one I really do have to hold back and think twice about before I apply it. Usually 4 or 5, because it is that strong. Of all the fragrances on the list today, fragrance number 8, Versailles by Jean Deprez, requires the most amount of confidence when you wear it because it's a two-faceted fragrance. On the one hand, it came out in 1962. Back then, civet, an animalic, a very potent animalic note, was very much in fashion. And so it definitely has that, I would say, masculine animalic facet to it, but it was marketed to women. So there are a lot of feminine notes here that gives this a definite feminine feel on the one hand. So the confidence that when you wear it really has to come through. Otherwise, people will think of it more as a feminine fragrance. A great thing about it is there's a lot of sweet facets to it because fundamentally it's an ambery fragrance to go along with the civet. You're going to get resins, amber, tolu balsam, and benzoin. Very, very ambery. So ambery, feminine, but animalic. This one definitely requires a confident wear. And, you know, people do wear this. A lot of guys, I remember one of the first channels I followed was a really big masculine football player looking guy, and he swore by this. So yeah, just bear in mind though, it's got a feminine feel to it. But yeah, I mean, I think confidence is so important. I think back to my dating days, it was horrific until I got my confidence, and then I was fine. And I think you can do that with fragrances. I think it's important to do that with fragrances every now and again. That's why I got a 30 ml of Toy Boy, and I remind myself to wear it regularly. You know, not all the time, but every now and again. Yeah, I got to be confident when I wear it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.